Welcome yogis. So today we're going to go through a practice for gratitude. So at the moment, I think that there's been a lot going on for everyone. There's been a lot of changes, and very quickly and very suddenly that the body sort of tends to go into a bit of a natural coping system. And when the body goes into that natural coping system, we don't often give or allow space for the mind to catch up. Well, it's like we're moving through the motions, but we're not quite processing exactly what's happening around us. So for a lot of us, this is big changes in our day-to-day, our family dynamics, our working situation, our financial situation. And when we're just trying to keep our head above water, sometimes we sort of lose sight of what makes us grateful. So for some of us, we've had a chance to step back a little and spend more time with family, or step back a little and spend more time just focusing on ourselves and very, very basic sort of rituals and basic practices. So today we're going to go through just a little bit of movement, just taking in the idea of gratitude. So gratitude is a really, really big one. It's not always that easy to access, and sometimes we can just not be sure how to access. So after this practice, I'll take you through a loving kindness meditation, which can just sort of set the tone for this vibration. And when we work with gratitude, it can bring up a lot of tenderness around that heart space, tenderness and vulnerability. And it can take a lot of courage, a lot of strength to allow that tenderness to come to the surface. So we're going to be very gentle, very kind, and very compassionate. Keeping in mind that if things do arise, it's completely natural. If things do arise, don't necessarily push them to the side. Just allow them space to process. So let's begin our practice. So we're going to work with a particular mudra throughout our practice. So I'm just going to show you the card of what this mudra is. So hopefully, if I take it up really close to the screen. And I turn the picture over. So it's really, really simple. It's like the Buddha helping hand. So we're going to visit this mudra a few times through our practice. It means courage. And that's what we all need at the moment, just a little bit of courage to believe in ourselves. That all of this is unfolding for a reason. To find that deep sense of trust, even if that trust might be taking us on a path which is completely foreign and uncomfortable and maybe confronting, and come back to that place of trust. So let's begin. I've taken a rolled up blanket. So the blanket is along the big width, and I've rolled that up. So the blanket will go about a third of the way from the top part of the mat. And we're going to just start by wriggling the body. So I'm wanting to aim for sort of at the back of the rib, so this sort of section here. So not sort of up too high, just right in that middle bit. So we feel at the back of the ribs. Then we start to open up the upper body, keeping the knees nice and bent. Beautiful. Then we take our palms up to the sky. We take our fingertips close together. So our fingertips will look like this. So it's that Buddha helping hand. It's that opportunity to receive. So the knees can be touching one another and the feet slightly out to the side. So the rolled up blanket is just touching right on the back of the rib cage. So it's very, very gentle to begin. And this just gives us a little more emphasis around the abdominal region. Let's breathe in and out nice and slowly. Really focusing just on the abdominal region. Allowing the shoulders to soften, so they may or may not be touching the ground. Just allow that area around the front of the shoulder blades, the sides of the neck, to soften and melt down into the ground. As if in this moment, there is absolutely nothing else going on. And inside of your palms, right in the center of your palms, as the palms naturally curl, imagine inside each palm that there's a ball of energy inside, right in the center. And in one palm, there's lightness. On the other palm, there's heaviness. So in one palm, there's that feeling as if it wants to lift up away from the ground, up toward the sky. The other palm, there's that feeling of heaviness as if it wants to sink down and dissolve. And we start to just extend the breath a little further up into the body. It expands from the belly, now drawing up underneath the rib cage. So it's as like there's a sucking or a vacuuming up underneath the rib cage. And we draw that breath right into the center of our chest, into that heart space. And it's like as if we're sinking the shoulders down into the ground and rounding out, or drawing the shoulder blades away from each other, as if we're almost wanting to back bend down into the earth. There's that energy of filling up through the heart space, warmth and energy. And we let it all dissolve, and we melt back down to the ground. We're coming back to this feeling of heaviness and lightness. So in one hand, we have the ability to find a little more freedom and space during our day. On the other hand, there's a feeling of heaviness and uncertainty. So it can be really quite challenging to not know what's coming ahead each day, each week, each moment. On the other hand, it can be quite liberating to have some of those restrictions or responsibilities removed and to be on a brand new path. Your energy will fluctuate and change from one moment to the other. So we're going to bring both palms together now. Slowly above the head. Take them down to the heart. The left palm will come down first. The right palm will sit on top. So the palms are sitting right on top of the heart space. I'm going to breathe in and out of here for a moment. Really feel that expansive quality through the breath. Come back to that deep sense of trust. That deep sense of belief. And if it isn't there right now, if you're struggling to find its existence, just believe that if the light isn't shining so brightly right now, that maybe it's a little dimmer, but it's there. It's inside. It's just there. Big deep breath in, arms out to the side, spread the fingertips nice and wide apart. Spread the fingertips, then curl into a fist. Roll over onto one side. Remove the blanket away. To begin our practice, we'll walk the knees back towards the edge of the mat. Take our fingertips forward into our melting heart. Tucking the hips just under very, very slightly. Keeping the spine nice and neutral with keeping that tuck under of the pelvis. Just to bring the back of the spine back into a little bit more of a neutral state. Slowly start to walk the knees forward. Beautiful. We'll take the hands just one step forward. I'm going to come onto the fingertips. I'm going to work through a cat-cow. I'm going to move my mat back very slightly. Move into a cat-cow with the fingertips. Take the knees maybe a step wider. Inhale, move from the pelvis, lift up toward the sky. Really shine at the back of the heart space, as the heart space is lifting up toward the sky. Round down by tucking the pelvis under, the chin to the chest, hugging the belly button in toward the spine. Big deep inhale, beginning from the pelvis, following the rhythm of the spine toward the sky, lifting up through the back of the heart space. Exhale, pelvis tucks under, lifting up through the pelvic floor, chin to the chest. Then you take this movement from the back of your heart space. So begin with the pelvis, lift up toward the sky. Find a smooth rhythm through your breath. Maybe even adding in a few rounds of Ujjayi breath. Constrict the throat as you move forward. Just one or two more. Sinking down toward the heels. Spreading the fingertips nice and wide apart again. As wide as they can go. Imagine that you're clawing the mat with your fingertips. Back into child pose. You may feel a slight tingling sensation underneath the fingertips. This is movement of energy through the palms. So we're stimulating all of our sensory awareness through the palms. Inhale as we come back to center. And move our way into a downward facing dog. So keep the fingertips spread nice and wide apart. Press up through the heels. Beautiful. Bend through the knees. As we spread the fingertips nice and wide apart, we take our energy down into the thumb and the second finger. And imagine that we're broadening from the shoulder blades. So it's like we want to turn our wrists out and away from one another. And we'll take a few steady breaths here. Maybe even come back to your ujjayi breath. Inhale. We'll draw the breath down through the back of the throat. Inhale. Slight contraction of the back of the throat. One more. Inhale. Down to the knees. Nice and slow. Press back into child pose for just a moment. Turn the head and the neck to one side. Back to the center, the opposite side. Back to the center. Slowly making your way back up. Walk the fingertips closer towards the body. We'll step our right foot forward, the fingertips at either side of that right foot. Slowly start to move our palms forward. So as we move our palms forward, there's that feeling of offering. I feel like I need to be a bit further away. Perfect. Just that feeling of offering as we come forward. So we're going to take this in a sweeping motion. Lift up toward the sky, down toward the ground. Extend the arms back, up toward the sky, down toward the ground, up toward the sky, keeping the fingertips close together, offering. Next time as we open, that left palm circles around. You take that right palm up toward the sky. I'm just going to adjust this. Better. Up toward the sky. Coming into a kneeling warrior. We'll extend those palms away from each other. And come back to that feeling of heaviness in one palm and lightness in the other. So the back arm is the heaviness as we tip down. Lift that back top arm over the head. I'm going to spiral like this a few times. Lightness in the front palm, heaviness in the top palm. Lightness and heaviness. Lightness and heaviness. Take the hands either side of that front foot. Step back. Change sides. Opening up. Lightness in the front palm. Heaviness in the back palm. That back shoulder, really roll the shoulder out and away. There's that feeling of drawing away from one another. That front heel, imagine that front heel drawing in toward the center so they're stable through the pelvis. Lightness and heaviness. Lightness and heaviness. Lightness and heaviness. Lightness and heaviness. Fingertips either side of the front foot, up to standing. Uttanasana, forward fold. Fingertips maybe down on the ground or resting upon the shins into a flat back. So we're going to move through just a little bit of a flow. Let's take our fingertips to stretch away from the body, so they're away from the body. Big deep stretch up toward the sky. Palms into prayer. Keep the fingertips touching nicely together. like this. Slowly coming down, arms together. Release through the fingertips, bend down through the knees. Belly button touching the thighs, stretch through the legs. Take the hands away from the body, clasping the fingertips together like this. Bend through the knees so the belly button's down toward the thighs. Take the arms up toward the sky. Tuck the chin in toward the chest. Beautiful. And coming back to that feeling of heaviness as the belly rests upon the thighs. That feeling of lightness as the arms extend away from the body. And we slowly come back with the in-breath. Up to the sky. Keep the palms facing in, with the fingertips connecting in towards each other. Big deep breath in, into our chair pose. Beautiful. Keeping the arms extended. Really drawing our energy into the thighs. Squeezing in toward the center. Lightness through those fingertips as they extend up toward the sky. Drifting down toward the ground. A little halfway lift as we extend the spine away. Come back to that belly breath. Feel the belly moving in and out. Down toward the ground. We'll walk our feet about the distance of the mat so they're a little bit wider. Turn the toes out in a little bit of an angle. So it's as if we're wanting to sit down into a really, really wide squat. I'm going to bend through both knees to begin and take our fingertips, so like the little spider hand, fingertips onto the inside of the right heel, lifting up toward the sky. Keep that palm in our mudra. Lift up toward the sky. Lightness through the palm. We're going to bend down into that left knee. Sweep, so as if we want to come into that squat. Sweep up and around. Sweep down, up and around. Sweep down, up and around. One more sweep down, up and around. Bend both knees now, left and right. Walk the feet back in closer toward each other. You may be on the toes, the feet may be completely down, whatever sits with you. You may be resting on a block. You may wish to sit onto a block like this, on the high side, the low side, high side or the low side. Beautiful. And we'll just come back to our center. So we'll take our left hand over our heart space and that right palm on top. Just taking a moment to check back with our intention of gratitude. So in this moment, what do we have? In this moment, what can we hold? In this moment, what really serves us? In this moment, who do we have around us that support us? In this moment, what can we do to make ourselves feel freedom? In this moment, what is this moment for you? The left hand receiving, the right hand giving. Big deep breath into that energy behind the heart space. Then let it go. Back onto the mat, changing sides. Right foot forward, left foot back. Fingertips either side. We step up into our high squat, our wide squat. So the toes are pointed slightly out. So the toes are on a little bit of an angle like that. So they're not straight, they're on a little bit of an angle. Into our wide squat, as wide as the mat. So the toes will be definitely on the edge of the mat. Beautiful. Then from here, we're going to come into the other side of that giving and receiving. Stretch your arms up nice and high above the head. Down through the heart center. Taking a moment to just find a drishti point or a gaze. So your gaze point may be your breath. Maybe even revisiting your ujjayi breath right now. Your drishti may be at the third eye at Ajna chakra. That sense of trust, intuition and knowing. Just sit with that drishti, sit with that gaze for a moment. Then slowly unfold the palms, keeping both knees bent. I'm going to come over. And both knees are bent. And I'm going to come over to the right hand side this time. So the left palm sits inside onto that spider sort of fingertips on the left hand, just inside the heel. We come up to the sky. Taking a nice little twist. Then we circle that arm around down to the ground. With both knees bend when we do this. We reach up to the sky. So we're circling that arm around. We reach up to the sky. Circling that arm around. We reach up to the sky. Just a few more. Down to the ground. Walk both feet in. Coming down onto the knees. Hands back to the heart center. Take a moment to find the breath. Breathing in and out nice and steadily, feeling